Come up in the attic space. You got the main trunk line for the fireplace right there. And then I ran the duct for the AC the other day. Oh boy. So I'm going to do today is try and drill into this and put my taps in to go into the house, into the wall here. Well, I got the first one on here and went pretty smooth. So I just used the drill bit to push against here to create a template to cut out the insulation and everything. The problem I ran into is that my screws really aren't long enough, so screwing into this, the insulation and everything was pushing it out, so I had to get in there and kind of push the insulation away. So the next one I do, I'll be sure to cut out more insulation or get it pushed off to the side first. But it's in there. I got it up at a slight angle, so it should go nicely right up into there is the plan. Alright, so I'm going to have a vent right here coming right down into the dining area. There's not very many vents that are going to be from the fireplace into the lower level because the radiant floor keeps it so hot down here. But if for some reason we do have an issue with the radiant heating, or the boiler goes out, whatever, I do want to have some heat coming down here. So we can always close the vents in the upstairs and blow more heat down to here. So I'm going to tap one right here down into the living room. I'm also going to do one in Barry's room somehow because I've got to get through the wall and down into his ceiling, which is going to be quite a task. But at least I can show you how I'm doing this. I did change my method a little bit. When I first drill to get through here, I spin it backwards, and that cuts this outer seal without ripping it to shreds. The first time I did, I ran with the teeth cutting in, and it just like ripped it right open. So going backwards will slice you a nice hole. And then I've actually taken my piece, I'll show you here in a little bit, but I slipped it back behind the insulation in the cover instead of trying to squeeze everything up in there because my screws just were having issues holding it. Look at that. That's gotta be just perfect. Couldn't have planned that better. Okay, I'm working on this wall here. This is where the vent's gonna go through at. And I've been having a heck of a time trying to figure out exactly where it's gonna go through at because I have an electrical line 10 inches above the floor. So I measured up 11 inches plus the carpet ought to give me somewhere around 12 inches. So I should have about 2 inches above that wire, hopefully. And then I also have the outside roof lands about right there. And then I have a 2x4 below it. So this is really about the only spot I feel I can get through the wall. And then I had to look at where this trim piece comes down at, how far over to where it's equal on the other side, since I have two vents in here, so it's not going to hit a stud. So I think I have my spots lined up on both sides, hopefully. So I'm going to drill through and really hope that I don't hit anything. Okay, I got my hole through and everything cleaned up for the most part. You can see right in there is my vent. So I got it lined up where it's supposed to be. I hope the other one goes just as smooth. You can really see the spray foam there. You can see an actual an orange line. That's where I sprayed it because I thought they were a little shallow there. So that's the second coat. But anyways, I should be able to line that up pretty easily. And my thought was just to come right up with the flex duct and just stick the flex duct inside this hole. And I have, well, I could do it that way, or I could go ahead and slip in a rigid pipe there and then attach it on the outside. I don't think that makes a real difference, but I'll go ahead and get that other hole down there done next, and then figure out how I'm going to tie these together. So before I hook this next vent up, you can see how close, how much little space I had to get this hole in here. That power line runs right under here, and then I got about maybe even less distance to the top of the or the framing there. So really close. Well, I've got all the ducts in except for one, and that's because instead of having it rounded take off, I need a flat one to go on the end of the pipe. But they're all in. I'm also out of aluminum tape. I need to get some lumber so I can build around the fireplace and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm basically out of parts. So I'll run to the store here in a minute. And probably, I don't know if I'm going to do more today or hop back on it tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. So I'm working on trying to get the ductwork going. This is the mini split. It's going to hang from the ceiling in here. This is above the storm shelter. I actually already had this up and in place, and then built my plenum, which is just some duct board with some 6-inch takeoffs put through it. The 6-inch takeoffs are actually too big. This opening is 6 inches, so that tells you that just 6 inches is going to splice your duct board. So this is a piece, this is a piece, that's a piece, and that's a piece. It's all kind of taped together behind the scenes. But to try and get this to be sealed up, I'm going to go ahead and put a screw through these fins down into the lip of the mini split to help hold it in place. Then I'm going to tape everything, and then I'm going to use the liquid duct sealant to make sure I get everything up nice and tight, and then I will go ahead and hang it back up in there. And then the plan, I ran this ductwork over to the windows where they're going to pop out at. It's going to come across above the ceiling. I've got to cut a hole in here, it'll drop down and then tie in. I'm going to put the kitchen here since it's the longest run, and then I'll put the 2 living room ones here on the outside. The reason being, this in the center, it just seems to me like that gets more airflow from the previous ductwork that we did. The ones in the center just seem to get a lot more push than the outer ones, and this is a longer run, so that's why I'm going to stick it on that one. So procrastination can be a good thing, because I've been delaying getting some of this stuff done up in the attic because it was so hot, and it's not hot right now. It's wonderful. And tomorrow it's only supposed to be in the 70s, so I can finish things up. But it's good rain. We needed this. After a little rain shower, decided to move on to trying to get the condensate liquid and supply line, everything run. I did the 1/4 inch one first, and I'm kind of thinking maybe that was the wrong thing to do, because I think that one's going to be harder. But I did learn some lessons. I started inside because I thought that if I had an extra part of the roll, I could leave it coiled up in there, and that did work because I went ahead and connected it down here already. But I think I'm going to start from this side this time and go the other way. So I'll leave it coiled up back here, uncoil it as I go. It's just too hard to weave through all these bends and stuff. And I'll take these, I'll unhook these, and then put the line up. So I'm not going to try to weave it through all that. But it comes up into here, and I've still got this much line left. So I don't know if I'm going to turn this around and tap it right into there or what. I talked to the HVAC guy, and he's going to try to come out this week to hook this up. So I'm just going to leave this like it is, and then he can cut it back if he needs to. But luckily I had exactly the amount that I needed. Otherwise I'd be trying to figure something else out. But I had some left over from before, but I knew it wasn't long enough, so I had to spend $200 for another 35-foot coil. Okay, so you might be asking why I ran this line on the outside instead of inside. Just weaving it on the outside was hard enough. I couldn't imagine going through the inside. And instead of buying a 35-foot cord or a line set for 200 and some bucks, I would have had to get at least a 50, I believe, maybe a 60 or 65. That's just way too much. So the plan is to basically come off that fascia board with like a belly band over. Now this basically box it in around and under, and then this whole back part I still never finished. But there's a metal cover that covers up this gap, or this hole where all these come out from the inside, and I'll foam everything in there. There's the main disconnect. I'll probably build a box around most of this and then bump that out. I'm not really sure yet. The wire that controls the mini split is going to follow the same path. It'll come down into this box where everything's spliced together, and then I left one more opening back there to come down into there and then into the outside unit, and then that should be it. So this looks a little messy right now, but it'll be boxed in, and we are planning on getting the siding done this year at some point, so hopefully this won't look like this too long. I didn't film anything in here because it's just so dark because the sun's not out right now, but you can see my 2 lines are right here, and it's so close to where they need to go in at that I may just look at hooking those up. Well, maybe not, because the one that's on there is 3/8, and I have a 1/2 inch line because it's 1/2 inch out there, but it's only 3/8 in here. So I have to get an adapter, and I don't know if it needs more Freon. I don't know a lot. I'm not the mechanical guy when it comes to that side of things. So I'll get the line run, everything set. So all he has to do is come over and just plug it in and add some charge if it needs it. So I don't have any of that wire. Well, I do have some wire, but it's not long enough. So I'll get that tomorrow. And then that's one more. God, what do I gotta do left? I think that's all I have to do is around the fireplace, and then I can start hanging drywall. I think. Yep. May make our timeline after all. I don't know. Okay, so we got the HVAC done. The guy came by and hooked up our mini split. Had to put a little bit of charge in there, and it's all ready to go now. It's kind of funny because we were trying to get it running, and it wasn't working. And everything inside was fine, but it wasn't working out here. And we must have looked at it for 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, and then realized that we didn't have the thermostat set right. So it's a cool day. It was only 77. We had the thermostat set to 78, so it just wouldn't turn the unit on. The fan was going, but nothing else was going. Just felt pretty stupid about that one.